plant blindness?
You guys know that music? That's ancient.
Well,
That's
this is like newer artists. It's like a new artist. I saw it. They just took the big inspiration. But I also know the older ones. My parents. Well, my grandpa. So he listens to it. So I know.
Your grandpa's listening to that song. Okay. I'm almost done grading the exam, so I'll
How's it looking so
return it
far?
on Thursday. I don't know. I think generally people get better, but I honestly don't know because I haven't added up all the grades yet, so I don't really know. So Thursday I'll return the exam and go over the answers. But in the meantime, we need to move on. We're going to talk about plants. And not that I'm biased in any way, yes I am. But plants are way cooler than you think they are.
Okay.
All right? And you need, stop and think about this for a minute. These are organisms that are stuck in one place. All right? They can't physically move themselves. And they live for thousands, some of them live for thousands of years. So how do you do that? How do you survive for 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years in one spot, knowing that the environment 5,000 years ago was very different than it is today? And that you're exposed to all variations of weather and climate. What organism can do that other than plants?
None.
None. All right? Also, plants play an extremely important role in our lives. So you see that phrase there? Okay. Do you have plant blindness? This is a phrase that was coined a number of years ago. I'm guessing that most of you have, I know you walked back to class past a whole bunch of plants today. I'm going to guess that 99.99% of you pay zero attention to any of those plants. You're just kind of, it's in the background there.
I thought the
Possibly
least.
you're the 0.1% that proves, fine, okay. See, prove me wrong. Good. Point being, most people are not even aware of plants around them. And yet, you're here because of plants. Without plants, we don't exist. Bottom line. Not only do we not exist because we depend on them for food directly, we depend on them for food indirectly. They help provide oxygen for us, they clean the air for us, they keep the soil in one place. They actually help with mental health, they help you recover from surgery. They provide the drugs that protect you, that help you recover. Yes?
I just think I would say me too sometimes, we don't care because we're so distracted by technology, for example, and whatnot.
What's going on in my virtual world here? Come on, Bobby did something. Oh, he ate a pizza, cool.
Exactly.
Right? Meantime, you can stare at that thing because plants made that possible indirectly. All right? So, in case you're wondering, I'm very partial to plants. All right, so let's talk about plants. There we go. Okay. When we're talking about plants, we're talking basically about terrestrial plants. There are plants that live in water, with maybe one or two exceptions. They actually are rooted in the ground. Or as you saw before, they could be rooted on other plants. That's also possible. But they're basically terrestrial. All right? They have cell walls made of glucose, sorry, not glucose, cellulose. And they have a couple other features that we'll talk about. But we basically divide plants into 4 groups, and those 4 groups give you the evolutionary history of plants. So the first plants that we have actual fossils of and records of are the non-vascular plants. So pay attention to that phrase, non-vascular. It means they don't have a vascular system. They don't have a transport system. Okay? They don't have xylem, they don't have phloem. Alright? But they're still plants. Alright? Then the next group, evolutionarily speaking, are what we call the seedless vascular plants. Now pay attention. Now they are vascular. Now they have xylem and phloem. But they don't produce seeds. So these first 2 groups here, they reproduce via spores. Okay? The next, so first, and we'll talk about this, the first innovation was how do you get out of the water onto land? Okay? Then, how do you improve your system so that you can access water, transport it through your body? So as you get bigger and more complex, you need a transport system. All right, we can't exist without our transport system, our vascular system. It wouldn't work. All right, we're too dense. You could never diffuse all the nutrients and oxygen, etc., and water that you need fast enough to function. You have to have that transport system that's distributing those things throughout your body all the time, quickly. All right, plants need the same thing. So that was the next innovation. You want to be on land, you got to have a vascular system. Okay, well, then what? Then the next innovation was the development of seeds. All right, so now you have, well, we had sexual reproduction here, but now you get an enclosed package. You enclose your embryo in a package, and that package protects you from the environment, but it also provides you food, resources to grow. All right? And then, so that was a big step forward. All right? That allowed, and what we're seeing here is we're going from being less and less dependent, basically, on direct contact with water. So we can move into drier and drier environments as a result of these innovations. Okay? And then the final innovation, at least for now, is flowers. So none of these plants here, none of these have flowers. These have spores, these have seeds, and these have flowers. Now, it's just like one little thing there, but let me tell you, the angiosperms are a huge group of plants. Those are most of the plants that you see and depend on, really. Okay, so flowers. Flowers were very important because now, up until here, you're basically, these 3 groups here are dependent directly on the environment for spreading of their gametes and spreading of their spores. All right? But once you have flowers, now you can recruit animals to help move your pollen around. So now you can have a targeted delivery system.